Hey everyone, it's Jay here. Welcome to another Thursday night live on the OnoLive live stream. We're doing coffee and cigars as always. And tonight it's February 18th here in Baltimore, and it's a beautiful day. And just wanted, well, it's actually probably snowing. Well, it's a little bit of a misnomer. Tonight's episode is coming to you pre-recorded because I have to do something else this evening that kind of takes a little bit of precedence. Sadly, I'm sad to report that one of my dearest childhood friends from elementary school passed away on the 13th, this past Saturday. Evidently, he was at home and had a heart attack and passed away. And so the wake, I was told that the wake is going to be Thursday evening from 6 to 9. So that's right in the middle of our live stream. So I decided that instead of abandoning you, I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. Decided to pre-record this, and then it's gonna, if everything goes to plan, it's gonna stream as though it was live. So you can, you'll still be able to comment with each other in the comments, and if I can break away for a little bit, I'll try to join the comments to just hang out with you guys. But just give you a chance so that at least we don't get to interrupt it. So it's a little bit different this week. So I hope you understand. We'll be back again next week with the normal live stream. Of course, there's a bit of a kink in the way, man. I'm recording this, it's actually Tuesday night, and it's about Tuesday night, about 7:15, we're starting off, and the forecast for Thursday is going to be snow here in Baltimore, so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. Yeah, so maybe you can't smoke outside, or maybe you're smoking inside, but wherever you're smoking, and whatever you're smoking, put that in the comments below. Want to hear about it, want to see what you guys are doing, and let us know what you're smoking, let us know what you're drinking, and that's it. So yeah, we're moving on. So we're going to start off as always with our coffee of the week, and we're going back with the Annabel Lee from my shop. Oh, come on, zoom in, there we go. Annabel Lee, which is a great little coffee, and we bring it out every Valentine's and February for Valentine's Day. I know Valentine's has passed, but we still have the coffee, and it's still available on our website. So, yeah, be sure to get it. You can get you can use the OnoLive on as your password to get 10% off of the website. That's prerecorded.com. So, come check it out and order some coffee. Love to send you some. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. We've got the coffee, and tonight we're going to be doing the Abbott Clever. And the Abbott Clever is a hybrid brewing device that actually I really enjoy. Some people have always asked me, like, how do you like to brew coffee at home? Or what's your favorite brewing method? For me, if I'm making coffee at home, I actually I'm typically making coffee while making breakfast. And I like a breakfast, if I'm making breakfast, that is, I would like to have a breakfast of, eggs, bacon, maybe some toast, maybe pancakes, or who knows, whatever, or maybe even grits, so I'll make all that at home. But what I'm really targeting is that I want to have everything delivered at the same time. I want the eggs, the bacon, the bread, all to arrive at the table, and the coffee to arrive at the very same time, so that everything is nice and hot and I can enjoy it when it's hot. I don't want to wait and all this. So historically, I've used French presses, and French presses are really great because you put the coffee in, you add the hot water, you put the top on, you wait 4 minutes, and then you press it down and pour. So it's super simple. There are more heavy sediments because of the way that the filtration system works on the French press, but I really like that because basically it's hands off. You just kind of, set it up and let it go. The Clever is kind of similar, and this is what I consider a hybrid coffee brewer, because it looks like a conical shape or wedge shaped type of pour over brewer, but it's actually a full immersion brewer, very similar to the French press. So basically, but it's really a hybrid. It actually uses both. So you've got the chamber where where the liquid and the coffee, where the water and the coffee infuse together for 3 minutes, and then it also has a paper filter, and the paper filter, once you're finished, there's a valve here at the bottom, right? And once you put this on top of your cup, the valve releases and the liquid flows through the coffee. The brewed coffee now flows through. So I like to let it steep for 3 minutes inside the Clever, and then after 3 minutes, we spend the last minute letting the coffee fall, and that should give us right about 3.5 to 4 minutes of total brew time, which when you ratio everything correctly should give you a really great brew. That's pretty simple. And the nice thing about these is that they use standard Melita number 4 filters that you can buy anywhere. And as you can see on the number 4 filter, that's a little bit on the, if I did this, there we go. As you can see here, there is a perforation, not perforations, but a seam, and the seam kind of interferes with the way that it sits in the clever. So what we do is we take the seam, we fold it over at the seams. Okay, we fold it over at the seam like this, fold it this way. That way you've got a nice flat surface so that when the paper filter goes into the clever, it goes in nice and flat and fits in really well. Yeah? All right, great. So from there, we're just going to take the coffee. We're using 24 grams because we're making a 12-ounce serving. So 2 grams of coffee for every finished ounce. So I have it pre-ground for, you know, it's kind of between a medium and rough and coarse grind. We just put that in there. So you can just kind of level it off, and that's it. Is that better? Let's see how that. Yeah, we'll do it that way. All right, so we've got the coffee in the clever, and I'm just going to get some hot water just off the boil here. Maybe I'll lower it down one level. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to get our timer, set it up for 3 minutes. Oops. Yep, 3 minutes. And then we're going to start timing as we add the water. And we're just going to wet the coffee. Just like that. Right, so wait about 30 seconds for everything to go. And then we're just going to punch down the bloom. So as you can see, the coffee is kind of dry and floating at the top. That's the bloom. And the bloom is caused by CO2 gas lifting the coffee. And I'm going to use this to punch it all down and bring it up to the right height that we want to brew the coffee. All right, excellent, excellent. Just reset that. And that's pretty much it. It comes with a lid that we can put on top, and that holds the temperature, and we just wait. Now we're waiting for another about 2 minutes. Yeah, good. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it. We're gonna put that into a beaker, let it flow into that, and yeah, that's pretty easy. So again, this coffee, we go for a nice, like, chocolatey notes, really kind of like a nice medium roastiness. So it's really just a great all-around, very approachable, very enjoyable kind of cup. I'm really, really happy the way it turned out this year. So I think it's really fantastic. Yeah, great as a gift-giving item for Valentine's Day. So if you miss Valentine's Day, be sure to get some for your loved one, because she's probably pissed off already. So another minute. So, you know, the interesting thing we had on last week's show, let me move this aside so we can get the focus. There we go. So on last week's show, we had Michael Rosales and Sean Coleman from Roma Craft, as well as Joan Obra from Rusty's Hawaiian Coffee. And it turned out to be a lot different of a show than I expected. Like, really, originally it was just gonna be Mike, and I asked him, said, "Hey, you want to come on the show?" And he's like, "Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to do," because we wanted to do something where I wanted to talk to someone that was really into both coffee and cigars, and Mike's really that kind of guy. Who, as you could see from his setup, he's got probably one of the most serious setups in home and espresso people in the world, in the country today. So it's really quite impressive. And so he brought it all to the Roma headquarters, and of course they they've been suffering with this whole crazy weather of like icy rain, and their people are crashing. It's and the power's out. It's just a mess down there. But you know, we had them on, and it was really. Oh, there we go. Now we've got. Let's go back to this for a second. Okay, so we've had the timer go off, 3 minutes. Now we're just going to set it on top, and this is going to open the valve, as you can see. Turn this on. You can see it flowing right here, right? Kind of. Maybe that's too much light. But it's flowing out into the. I put it on a beaker. I put a beaker under it, just so you can see it. Maybe I'll put the logo facing forward so the logo can be seen. There it is. Clever dripper. Oh, it's falling off. So now we're just going to let that fall and wait for it to finish. Looks like we're about half, almost, is it almost done? It's getting close. It's getting close. It's still flowing. There's still some coffee in there. Let's see how that's working out. Still a bit, a little bit. Okay, that's good, that's good. Put this aside. And that's our brew. All right, we're not doing Tales from the Crypt tonight. All right, so we've got our coffee. I know, we made a little bit of a mess here. Look at that. Just about right. About 350 grams. That's about 12 ounces. Nice. All right, so we're going to take that. We're going to pour this into our cup. And this is a cup I got in the town of Bamberg in Germany several years ago when I was there. And it's actually a Glühwein mug, but it's clear. I was looking for a clear mug, and I needed to use for the show, and so I remember I had this one. So Glühwein, if you're not familiar, is this spicy, sweet red wine that they serve in Germany during the Christmas markets that happen between November and December, right before Christmas. And they're really big celebrations in all the cities and towns in Germany. Most of them have a Christmas market where they sell Glühwein, they sell sausage and different foods and all kinds of Christmas items. And it's really a wonderful way to spend like the holiday season in Germany. Like if you want to go to Germany, I mean, I think it's really wonderful to go at the very end of, I think it starts after our Thanksgiving here in America. So if you go there like at the very beginning of December, right up to Christmas, it's a wonderful time to go. I mean, I've been to a lot of them. I've been to Bamberg, I've been to the ones in Frankfurt, Berlin, I've been the one to Saarbrücken. I've been to the really big one in Nuremberg. That's really a wonderful, like massive. It's massive in Nuremberg. So I mean, if you have the chance to go to Germany, I think it's really great. But it's just, this is a glass mug, so I want to use it just so it's easier for you guys to see. So let's have a taste. Nice. It's nicely balanced. There's a good amount of sweetness from the processing of the coffee. It's sweet, but it's also got some chocolate notes, some nuttiness, a little bit of berry fruit, but just very little, you know. Oh, I'm digging it. All right, excellent. I love it. And the nice thing about brewing it this way in this kind of environment, that, you know, the temperature is a little bit nicer because it's had some time to relax. It's not burning your mouth hot, and which is really great because, you know, the thing about olfactory or tasting your palate, it's always more difficult for your palate to sense different flavors when an item is really hot, whether it's liquid or food. And when it's really, really hot, it's really difficult to discern the different nuances and flavors, where you can simply taste better when the food or liquid is cooler, right? Not necessarily cold. Also, cold will also occlude the senses, but as long as it's at a nice temperature, maybe room temperature or so, a little bit warmer, of course, maybe 100 degrees, 90 degrees, 80 degrees, you'll have really nice taste sensation. All right, excellent. So we're going to move on into our cigar of the evening, or cigar of the week. And that we're getting, of course, always from Tobacco Leaf in Jessup. Raul's down there, and he's always putting things together. Something I wanted to mention to you guys that to plan for is that I spoke to Michael King from, he's the regional distributor for it, or the regional broker for Aganorsa Leaf in our region, and he has agreed to come on the show we still have to put together the date, but he's agreed to come on the show in the near future, and he's going to put together a cigar and tobacco tasting package. We're going to have like 20 packs, and then you're going to be able to order those from Raul, and he'll sell you the pack. And what it is, it's going to be one of a really nice, well, we're going to presume it's really nice. It's going to be one of the Aganorsa Leaf cigars, along with, if I remember this correctly, it is 2 little rolls of their major tobacco. So these are tobaccos that have like kind of built their whole brand, their whole company. And so Mike's going to come on here and tell us all about it and give us a full rundown. Maybe we can try to see if we can get Paul Palmer to jump on the live stream with us as well. But either way, we're putting that together. So get ready. Once that's ready to go, I'll let you know, and then it'll be time to order. So do order the pack. It'll be really interesting. It'll be nice if we can get everyone to smoke together at the same time, so we can have an equal experience, so we can all kind of chime in and have everything, work together like that. All right, so back to what I was saying. Tobacco Leaf. And we're doing the Charter Oak. Well, let me pull this out of the paper, the cello. So tonight's cigar is from Foundation Cigar, The Mind of Nick Melillo. And if you guys don't know, Nick Melillo used to be the blender for Drew Estate. And then maybe like 5 years ago, he decided to break off on his own and do his own thing. So he opened a company called Foundation Cigar. He did the El Huehuense. And we also did a cigar of his not too long ago. What was it? Let me look it up here. We did his... we did the Tabernacle, Havana City, Connecticut, number 142, the one that I was saying it's such a very long name. And it really is a very long name. Anyway, so here's the Charter Oak. Habano Torpedo. Nice silky wrapper. It's a closed foot cigar. And yeah, pretty good. Uh-oh. Hold on one second. I'm getting a little bit of a notice of a thermal heat on the camera that, well, we don't want it to shut down. So let's go back to it. We've got our Charter Oak Torpedo, Habano Torpedo, closed foot, really nice, silky, smooth, really pretty wrapper. This is an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. And what I was thinking about it, I think it's very, maybe it looks different. It's much lighter than last week's cigar. So last week, as you know, we're smoking the Aromacraft Intemperance Whiskey Rebellion 1794 Tarred and Feathered, which has the Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. Their wrapper that they're using on the Roma is really dark and like robust looking. This is not as dark and robust looking, but it is a very smooth and silky feel on my fingers. And a nice taper tip. I mean, it looks really, really well made. So this is made at the A.J. Fernandez factory in Esteli. And it uses, what is it using here? It's using, Ecuadorian Habano wrapper and then Nicaraguan binder and fillers. Again, they're very coy about what leaves they are. And that was the thing that I kind of touched on with Mike last week that I thought was really great that he was open about it. But you know, if you're telling people like this is the leaf, I mean, is it really? Most of the people that are paying attention are enthusiasts who really would just like to know, just have knowledge that makes them, you know, and I think when you have knowledge, you appreciate the product more. But, you know, that's just my own pet peeve. So they come, the MSRP is $7. They come in boxes, cabinet boxes of 50. So, you know, if you want to get a box of them, it's $350. This one from Raul at Tobacco Leaf was $7.55, so very reasonably priced. And they came. This one was was added to the line as a line extension in this past September of 2020. So let's get into it. Let me. Have to find the right balance of heat and exhaust. So we're going to cut it with our, oh, let me switch this off here. Oh, like I said, we're talking about the Foundation cigar. And now we're going to cut. It's the featured cutter, the Zycar MTX tool. We're going to cut it right here. Hopefully I cut it straight. Just like that. I'm getting a little bit of separation. Oh, a little bit of cracking. Now I have kept this with Boveda humid packs in a plastic bag and the Boveda is still very, I'll show you. So I keep it in this bag here. Now the temperature in the room gets probably about to 55 degrees when I'm not here. But it has I keep the Boveda pack in here. It's a Boveda 69, and as you can see, the Boveda 69 is still very wet, still very pliable. There's maybe a little bit of like dry crunchiness right here, so it seems to be, it should be holding a nice humidity level. But we are getting a little, on that cut, I did get some cracking, right? There it is. That's a little bit disappointing. It's going to be a little bit of problematic, I'm sure. All right, so let's do a little bit of cold drawing. Well, it doesn't feel on the tongue that it's coming off. There's a little bit of sweetness. Maybe a little bit of this sweet mustiness. Not bad. Pretty good. So let's get into the lighting. We're going to use these. I found these Kobo lighter, Kobo matches from a company called Kobo. This whole thing is so bright. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna tune down this light a little bit because the key light is really bright, so that everything I do, you can't really focus in on it. Everything gets blown out. That's not even better. Oh, there we go. That's better. Kobo. And Kobo, evidently, I forgot about it. This actually came with this candle. They give you long matches with this candle. This candle, a really nice candle. Kobo is a soy-based candle company, and they're actually really nice. This was given to me by Carmen from Trove in Hamden when we first opened Spro 11 years ago. She gave it to me as a gift, as a welcoming gift. And I only started using it like maybe a year or two ago. But it's really nice. And so when I opened the packaging, it had these, and so I just found them again, and it's like, oh, let me start using them because long matches are always fun. All right, here we go. I was reading some of the reviews that said the closed foot tends to be harder to light. But this one seems to have lit pretty well. Oh, and man, there's actually a nice flavor right at the onset. Like a nice sweet spiciness to it. Maybe slightly creamy. Ooh, the smoke is silky and a good amount of smoke. A nice resistance in the draw. This is starting out really, really well. Initial light, really nice. So this is actually the third addition to the Charter Oak line. This time he's using this Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, but and it's supposed. I guess the idea is that it's supposed to fill the gap in between the other two parts of the Charter Oak. One is the CT shade, Connecticut shade. The other one is the CT Connecticut broadleaf. You know, and people are really into this whole Connecticut broadleaf over the last several years. But this is supposed to kind of fall somewhere in the middle. Like, so the broadleaf is really on the heavier end. The shade is on the lighter end. This is supposed to be kind of in the center. And then Nick Melilos quoted as saying that this is a medium-bodied, spicy blend with amazing flavor and at great value. So that's what he's saying: medium-bodied, spicy, amazing flavor, great value. So we're at $7.55 here in Maryland. Already, for a full-sized 6x52 cigar, that's a good price point. You know, at the moment in this time in history, that's a good price point. And so far, starting out really well. Now let's compare to some of the other people the other reviewers out there. So Half Wheel, in November of 2020, their reviewer Patrick Legrade gave this. Well, let's forget about the score. I mean, you see the score already, so we're not going to go really into that. But he said in the cold draw, he got peanuts, sweet white bread, dandelion, peanut butter cookie, touch of pepper. Yeah, I can see the touch of pepper. There's definitely some of that sweetness. I don't know if I would describe it as sweet white bread. I don't even know how I would describe it as dandelion, but there's definitely a very positive cold draw and initial light. Who else is out there? There's Foundation Cigar Advisors Gary Corbin, December 2020. He said that his cold draw was a little salty and leathery. There could be some of that. And then also Cigar Authority in October 2020, they gave it they said the cold draw was fluid, hints of graham crackers, touch of mocha, cedar, sunflower seed aroma, and then the first draw was mocha and marshmallows. And I don't know who's writing the ones for Cigar Authority. Maybe it's Mr. Jonathan, but the marshmallow part, maybe that's kind of the sweetness that I'm getting on the initial puff. But it was very positive. We're hearing graham cracker notes, chocolate or mocha, marshmallow sweetness. I think these are some nice descriptors for a nice beginning. So let's go back to Patrick's. And Patrick is saying that on the first third, he's tasting black pepper, woodiness, peanut butter, bright pepper, and then it's got medium plus flavor and body. Gary Korb is saying it's peppery mix, curious fruity note during the light. Yeah, that was definitely, maybe that's what it is, a nice fruitiness during the light. Earthy, bordering on musty. There was definitely some mustiness at the start. Pepper finish, sweet tobacco notes, leather, semi-sweet, burned well. He thinks that's smooth, balanced with a medium body. So far, it is. I do agree. It's smooth. It is coming off well balanced. Yeah, it's definitely on the medium, maybe medium plus side. I'm enjoying it. So, you know, right out the bat, I'm definitely enjoying it. So, you know, this is Charter Oak, right? What is Charter Oak? Charter Oak evidently is a reference to an oak tree that was in Hartford, Connecticut from about the 1300s to 1850s. So it was around for about 500 to 600 years, somewhere in there. And I guess I don't know much about Connecticut. I believe it's integral to Connecticut's history. I think Nick is from there because he based his company there. They're based in Windsor, Connecticut. You know, I know Connecticut mainly because, you know, we talk about like insurance companies, but with Connecticut and pizza. Pizza's what Connecticut's known for. You know, if you go to New Haven, Connecticut, in New Haven there is, I guess the most famous place in New Haven is called Pepe's. Pepe's Pizza. Their all-white clam pizza is very well renowned, and it's very, very good. It's very, very good. Down the street from Pepe's is Sally's. Sally's Peas, and Sally's is a really interesting or unique place because Pepe's is open all day, lunch and dinner. Sally's is open only dinner. So every time that I've been to New Haven, because I'm usually traveling to New England, so I'll just swing by. It's usually I've never been there at the time. Well, except for one trip, I've never been in New Haven at the time that Sally's was open. And I remember I went to Sally's. I happened to be coming back from a trip, and I happened to be running through New Haven at the right time, so I swung in. I went to Sally's. I ordered a pizza. I think I ordered a sausage with cheese, and it was really interesting because the guy that was serving me was really friendly. He was like, "Hey man, how's it going? Blah 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 blah," and it's really friendly. Just, you know, was really helpful. And his coworker though, when he saw this guy being friendly to me, he kind of seemed irritated. So my understanding is that Sally's has a reputation of being one of those places that kind of prides itself on being rude to the customers. And I guess that's their thing. I don't really know. I didn't experience that. I experienced someone that was actually really friendly and really helpful. And so I don't know what your experience is if you've been there, but my experience was very positive. And then, of course, New Haven, one of the other big ones in New Haven is a place called Modern Appease. And Modern was actually the first place I went to many years ago, and I got their pizza with bacon. I like bacon pizza. When it comes to pizza toppings, I'm okay with just bacon, crispy bacon, or sausage. I like to try that. You know, if I go to Pepe's, Frank Pepe's, I'll get the all-white clam pizza. And remember, if you go to Frank Pepe's, it's all-white clam pizza, because that has the white sauce and the cheese and the clams. If you just say clam pizza, it's just clams. There's nothing else on it. I did that one time too. I thought I had the lingo. I thought I was all smooth. I thought I was going to be like, yeah, I got it. And then I got this pizza. It was still good, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. It wasn't the one that everybody raves about. It was just clams on bread. But if you go to Frank Pepe's, one of the really interesting things is that pay attention to their oven. Like, the oven is like built into the wall. Let me see if I can get a picture of this Frank Pepe's. Oops. So if you let me just see if I can find a photo. Oh, here we are. I'm going to pull this up here so that you guys can see it. Okay, so here we are, Frank Pepe's. Here, this is the pizza oven. Oh no, this is not the one. This is different. Okay. Maybe it's similar, but evidently this is the one at Chestnut Hill Mall. Where is this? This is in Boston. Anyway, it's similar to this. It's actually, this is a much smaller scale. But when you walk into, well, let's see if we can go back and find it. But if you walk into Frank Pepe's and you go to the one in New Haven, Connecticut. Let me see if I put Frank Pepe oven. one. Okay, so this is Frank Pepe's, and when you go there, right, and you go to this oven, can I make this bigger? Oh yeah, I can. Right, you go there. This oven is like look how long his pizza peel is. It's that far back, so that peel is easily what, almost 10 feet, at least 8 feet. That oven is that deep. It's super deep in there. And I remember standing, the first time I noticed, I was standing there waiting for my pie. I was taking it to go, and I saw him, you know, put the peel in. And if you notice this hook at the top, right, there's this hook that's above the guy's head, just hanging from the ceiling. When they're not actually actively using it, they'll actually hang the end of the pizza peel up on that. As you can see, that thing that's running across the screen at the bottom that looks like a handrail, that's actually another pizza peel. So you can see the guy's foot to the left. He's actually forming the pizza dough, or forming the pie on the pizza peel, and that is a rest so that it can sit on top of the pizza, the refrigerator. But the depth of the oven at Frank Pepe's is super impressive. You're like, wow, that's crazy. Like you could crawl and you could have a dance party in there. So that's kind of Frank Pepe's. So Frank Pepe's, there's modern, and then another interesting thing about New Haven, Connecticut is it's the birthplace of hamburgers, right? So there's a place there called Louis Lunch. Or Louis Lunch. I don't know if it's Louis or Louis. Let me share this again with you guys. So here we are, Louis Lunch, and let's see for images. This is Louis Lunch, as you can see, and they make their burgers, and they do their burgers on toast. As you can see here, they're on toast, but they're using these. So closer, here we are. They're using these. I don't even know what they call them. They're using these flame broiled vertical grills. So you can kind of see the guy holding at the bottom. He's kind of got that sandwich thing. Kind of like the thing you use for campfire cooking. It's very similar to that. And they will put the burger patty in between those. Oh, there's the burger patty. They're dressing it. It's really, they only use really simple ingredients. I don't even think they do ketchup and mustard, but basically these vertical looking iron things, there's actually a split door, and you pop it open and you shove the rack in vertically, and there's flame broilers that are on both sides of it cooking your burger. It's really interesting, and this evidently was where the hamburger really started. As you can see, they've got the conveyor toaster to the left of those. Everything's gas fired. It's really interesting. It makes me wonder, they're going through so much volume at Louis Lunch that, and these cast iron grills are running, essentially nonstop. It kind of makes me wonder, how many of these do they actually have? If they're really hitting on them hard, they probably have to have a few that are just being refurbed, and just to be at the ready for when they need servicing. As you can see, it's fresh meat. Really small place, cash only. The menu's super limited. So as you can see, it's just cheese. They'll put cheese on it, and toast. Really simple. I don't even know if they do. I can't recall if they. It's been a long time since I've been there, but I don't think they do ketchup or mustard. Just super simple. It's been they'll do onions, evidently. It's been a long time since I've been there. I think I was there in 2007 or 2005. Good and interesting, it's really. Actually, I think I can find. Oh yeah, there we are. I was there 2008. There we are, here we are, here we are. These are my photos from 2008, my visit there in 2008. Yeah, look at that. Look, it's real simple kind of burger. Just a real simple, and it's a really tiny place. But you know, if you have the chance to be in New Haven, it's well worth checking out. Well worth checking out. And then of course the other thing that you might have heard of is Mystic Pizza from the movie. There is a Mystic Pizza. I've been there a couple of times. Pizza's pretty good. I do enjoy it there. And then of course Groton, Connecticut has all of the submarines. So there's a cool submarine museum there. I went there the last time I was in Connecticut. And then of course there's the casinos in Mohegan Sun. I went there one time. That was, you know, interesting. Casino's a casino. I would like to visit the tobacco fields and see all the Connecticut shade, but I really don't know what part of Connecticut that is. And you know, I guess you have to be there based on, you know, the growing season and kind of how things are in Pennsylvania to the north of us here. You kind of have to really see the leaf. The tobacco leaves, you really kind of have to go there like in August, September. That's when, at least in Pennsylvania, for the Pennsylvania Broad that they're doing in Lancaster County, when you go there in like September, early September, late August, that's when you really see the fields filled with like massive tobacco plants. So like I said, thanks for tuning in. Those of you just joining us, this is a pre-recorded broadcast. I'm actually attending a wake tonight for our old elementary school friend, who was one of my closest friends when we were children, from 1st to 8th grade, and he passed away this past Saturday. So I'm actually recording this early so that you guys will have something to do on Thursday night. And yeah, so I hope you guys are able to communicate and chat in the chats. I'm going to try to join in from wherever I am at the moment through the chat. But this is a pre-recorded segment. So if you're sending me questions, don't think I'm ignoring you, because I'm not. I just don't know that you're sending them at the moment. But we're still in the first third of the Charter Oak Habano Torpedo. And I gotta say, it's very enjoyable. Really, really enjoyable. Yeah, really, really enjoyable. But there's a light spice, some sweetness, a little bit of chocolatiness, a little bit of leather. Like, you know, some of the cigars we've tried, they're like hitting like sharper notes of like more bold. This is really kind of like more subdued, a little more subtle, very well balanced. Like nothing is like dominating, right? It's just got a nice balance. It's just pleasant, really enjoyable. Creamy. There is a creaminess on my palate right now. And it's going really well with the cigar. Really well with the cigar. I mean, the coffee is. And the coffee tonight is the Annabel Lee, our seasonal Valentine's coffee. And if you want to get some coffee or anything at all from the Spro site, at spro.com, get 10% off by using the code word OnoLive, ONOLIVE. So make sure you use that and get 10% off whatever's on the website at the moment. Let me just adjust my chair. There we go, dude. My back feels a little bit tight. All right. So, like I said earlier, we were talking earlier, last week we had Mike Rosales on, and I was it turned into a lot different of a show than I was expecting, because Joan was there, so we were able to talk a lot about the agriculture side of coffee, which being someone that does a lot of coffee buying, I find that to be I find that to be a very interesting aspect of, the discussion. Like, because I get to see the ag side of coffee when I go to Esteli. I'm always really interested to see what's going on that side as well. But of course, I'm a buyer, so I don't really understand the ag like Joan does. So it's nice. It was nice to have her on the show where they can have a conversation, really talking about the different issues that they're facing. And I thought that was really interesting. And it went by really well. I thought it went by really well, and I had a whole list of questions that I wanted to pose to Mike that just never even got to. So, and then also we never really even got to talk deep about the cigar. Like, normally we go through the cigar, we're talking about it as we smoke, and it was just a great, easygoing, open discussion that we didn't really touch too much on cigars. And so if we're looking for more insight on the Tarred and Feathered Whiskey Rebellion, my apologies on that. But the Tarred and Feathered, like we said last week, is very different than my normal Intemperance BA 21 Revenge with the Arapiraca wrapper. I like the Revenge better. Actually, I like the Intemperance BA line probably the best of the entire Roma offerings. I just like the flavor combination. It's got a nice boldness to it. It's got a lot of depth. It's got a lot of nuance, a bit of spice. I just like that a lot. And so I wonder, when it comes to the Roma stuff, like let's say we're comparing Whiskey Rebellion, am I just too biased already to the Revenge and the Arapiraca wrapper? I don't know, man. That's something that I have to say, is my bias really there, and I'm just kind of like trying to find a way. Yeah, I don't know. I think these are the things that, as we have our biases, we got to try to at least identify that, or at least be cognizant of it. But the Tarred and Feathered, good, very good. If you like the Whiskey Rebellion, you will like that cigar. It's much bolder than the Revenge. It's a bit heavier. It's a darker cigar. Like, it's a little more darker and brooding than the Revenge. Where if the Revenge is kind of, I can't say light and fluffy. It's not that at all. But comparatively, it's definitely a lighter. And I mean like lighter, like not so like dark and brooding. Like, it's not dark and brooding. I think Whiskey Rebellion is dark and brooding. And what I really wanted to ask Mike and to talk about and expound on is, like, I think that their naming of cigars is really quite interesting. And kind of like maybe some of the more cerebral or smarter type of naming that I've seen in the cigar industry. You've got all these cigar companies making all different kinds of names, and they all kind of are similar. Whereas, you've got like Roma, and they're doing things like Tarred and Feathered Whiskey Rebellion. They're doing the Aquitaine Cro-Magnon. They're doing, and Knuckle Dragger. They're doing things that I think are kind of intellectual. The naming of a lot of their lines is very intellectual, and I always kind of admired that. So the Charter Oak still smoking smooth, good resistance, good balance. Nice looking ash. If you look here, the ash is attractive. I mean, it's still silky, still. And I remember we started off, there was a little cracking here at the end. That has not unraveled. That has not performed in any untoward way. Very nice, very nice. So far, very nice. I need to blow more. I've got this fan here. You might have noticed in the last couple weeks. This fan here. I'm trying to figure a way to direct the smoke away from me better. But fluid dynamics is really kind of an interesting thing, and that I knew nothing about. If you've ever paid attention in your own smoking situations, like, there may be a breeze blowing this way. Like, generally, the fan is blowing things that way. And on the other side, where you can't see from the camera, there's an exhaust fan in the ceiling that is sucking everything out. Why the smoke here, that's right below where my hand, is wafting this way, that's fluid dynamics. And that is something completely beyond, the physics is, I just don't have that physics mind. So, yeah. I'm always fascinated to learn about it, but I just don't know who to ask. So one of the things we talked about over the last few weeks is of course, since the beginning of the year, we're talking about the best cigars of 2020. And so many, or all of the different cigar reviewers and media and whatever are making their best of 2020 list. So I thought I would do the same. And let's get into it. So for this this kind of ranking, where I did something, I don't really know how everybody else does it. I guess they go by their scores. And since we're not really doing any kind of scoring, because as you all know, I'm kind of at a loss, because there's no, scoring, as you know, scoring at my position is scoring in cigars is rather nonsensical. There's no real standard. There's no real criteria. It's just kind of everybody giving numbers randomly. Like, for example, tonight's cigar, what do we have? We've got Half Wheel gave it 93. You know, why? I mean, we'll look into that a little bit later as to their reasons, but, you know, some people give 86, 93. What does all that mean? Well, so, like I was saying, let me just close some windows here so I don't have to be so confused. All right, so for the criteria that we're using for our listing of the cigar of the year 2020, I was looking at the schedule of shows we've done. We've done 22. In 2020, we did 22 shows and ranked and rated and reviewed 22 cigars. Now, this ranking that I'm going to be telling you is really based more on my personal remembrance of the cigar. Like, how well does the cigar stand out in my memory versus the rest? You know, like, yeah, was it so good that you just, oh my gosh, I still think about that cigar. That's kind of how I'm putting it, how I'm rating it. Just to give you a little bit more insight into my thinking, you know, so we did 22 cigars in 2020. There's a number of them that I'm disqualifying because the availability just isn't there. Like, so, what was it, Christmas? We reviewed the 1995 La Gloria Cubana Medalda or number 2, cutting that out. New Year's Eve did the Roma Craft Wonderlust, Bund Robusto. Since we can't get those in America, I'm going to cut that out too. So that leaves us with 22 cigars, that leaves us with 20 cigars for consideration. Now, in 2020, I smoked a total of 305 cigars. Now, if you guys know me, I kind of do this thing where I keep a running tally on the cigars that I'm doing, right? So, for example, here in 2021, I've got a listing of cigars that I'm just writing the cigars down, just as kind of a running record of what the cigars that I smoked at the time. So in 2020, I did a total of 305 cigars. Now, we started this live stream at the very end of July, and so from that point to the end of 2020, the first cigar that we smoked was the Perdomo Firecracker on July 28th, and that was, for me, that was cigar number 186. So 305 minus 186 means that I'm basically thinking of these 20 cigars amongst 119 cigars, right? And putting them up against that to remember. But only the ones that are from the show are the ones that are going to be listed. And so, you know, and I have a listing of all the cigars that we smoked. And You know, there's a lot of great cigars, a lot of well-regarded cigars. Some of the ones that you've seen in other people's top tens. I believe the Pledge, the EP Carrillo, is that right? Let me look that up here, double check. The on the 11th live stream on the 15th of October, we smoked the EP Carrillo Pledge Sojourn. Now, it wasn't the Sojourn that made the number one. I think that was number one for one of the reviewers, the EP Carrillo Pledge, you know. But is it something that I remember? Like, and I'm not looking at the scoring. Like, I didn't do scoring, so it's not like I can look at that. I'm really just going by kind of the feel for what really struck me, what really has remained, you know, in the mind. And to be honest, I got a listing of 7. And those 7 I'm going to put in the show notes below. The number 7 cigar, actually below number 5, maybe even really below number 4. So like 5, 6, and 7 that I'm listing. I'm not even sure how well I remember the impact that they had on me. But I put them here because I think that they were definitely worth mentioning. So number 7, the Paul Gomarian PG Gourmet Series 3 30th anniversary. And that we did that was a relatively early one. We did that on our second show, or our third show, on the 13th of August. The number 6 cigar is something a little more recently. We did that on the beginning of December, that December 3rd, on the live stream 19, which is the Tatuay Cabaiguan number 54 Robusto Extra. Number 5 is actually number 5 is probably number 5 is one maybe maybe I'm remembering more because of my original experience with it in March of 2019 rather than when we smoked it on the show in we smoked this actually on New Year's Eve, October 31st, on the live stream 23, and that's the Davidoff exclusive Tampa edition Florida Sun Grown. And that's really a nice cigar. I don't know if I'm remembering that because of the first experience or the second, to be honest with you. The number 4 is really the ones that stand out in my mind. Like the ones when I think about what are the cigars that stand out from what we smoked on the show, these are really the ones that are like popping. And the 4th one, which is kind of surprising because I guess I'm perennially like down on this manufacturer. Like I'm skeptical because they just make so much stuff, and I've had a number of cigars that are just not pleasant, not worthy of consideration to even as a cigar, as let's say a golf cigar or a driving cigar. So I'm surprised it made it, but when I think back upon it, the flavor was really strong, really well done. I mean, the flavor was really good, and I'm really interested in exploring it more. So that's really part of the reason, a big reason why it's at number 4. And especially it's surprising because, you know, it really is a cigar that I didn't even finish. You know, it was the one that went out in the middle. It just kind of had this construction issue where it bored out through the side and it just went to hell. But right before that happened, from the light to that point, it was, man, surprisingly good. Surprisingly good, very enjoyable. And that is the Rocky Patel World Championship Moreva. And I still have one more, and I've been holding off on it because, you know, typically I'm smoking it, you know, in my recreational time, and it's really just watching shows and movies, and, you know, I'm not really giving it its due. So I really want to sit down and enjoy that one. So that's the other one. So that's number 4. Number 3 is one of my perennial favorites. It's a cigar that I think is nice and delicate with a lot of nuance and just really enjoyable, but it's also a lighter cigar, right? It doesn't have the oomph of, like, let's say the Roma Craft Revenge. The Revenge has oomph, right? You could smoke that after almost anything and still get the flavor. This one, if you were smoking, anything before it. Like, let's say if you smoked a Tatuaje brown label, or if you smoked, especially if you smoked any Roma craft, and then you smoke those before, and then you smoke this after, you're wasting your money because you're just blowing out your palate, and it's got so much nuance that's so enjoyable that your palate is so used to such a high table, you just don't really taste it, so you blow all your money. But as a first cigar on a clean palate, amazing, wonderful cigar. And that's the Abe Flores Series Privada 1975 SP54 Maduro. It's a box pressed Maduro wrapper, just delicious. I mean, I sucked those down as much as I'd suck down the Revenges. So, I mean, they're really a great cigar. Number 2 on the list is the Crown Heads Mil Dias Edmundo. And again, really, really surprising when I tried it. The Mil Dias has really been one of the ones that have stuck in my mind from the show, that it's like, if I get a chance to find some more, I'd like to get more of those. Really good flavor, just a really great cigar. And then the number 1. So my number 1 choice from the show, for the 20 cigars that we smoked for the show in 2020, the number 1 is the one that like really was just really kind of like out of left field, at least in my world, from left field. You know, I'm not really one that follows the cigar industry very tightly, like the guys at Half Wheel. They're really into it. Like, they really are like geeking out and calling and like checking. I don't do much of that. I just kind of follow along just very casually. And this is a cigar that Yoster down at Tobacco Leaf, when I was buying the first round of stuff for the show, that he was kind of like, hey, you need to try these. And I didn't realize at the time that it was a cigar that's really difficult to get. So I just bought one, or I bought 2 or something like that. And man, gangbusters. I thought it was just a gangbuster cigar that, you know, I haven't seen since that time. And if I did see more, I would love to get more. And that cigar is the Stolen Throne Crook of the Crown Robusto, the red label with the crown and this crow on it. Just a really excellent smoke that I really enjoyed a lot. Some of the other ones that I think, so that's the number 1 that I would say from the show that we smoked. Some of the other ones that I thought were interesting, the Stolen Throne, what was the other one? Call to Arms was very good as well, very notable. I thought the Southern Draw Kudzu was quite an interesting cigar. I tried another one of the Southern Draw, the first line that they came out with. I forgot the name, but I tried that, which was their original release, the original line they came out with. And that was okay, but I thought the Kudzu was quite good. You know, definitely an honorable mention. Those 2 are the honorable mentions. And then the rest, you know, a lot of them are a lot of great cigars. You know, overall, when you look at their names, they're from great manufacturers. You know, My Father's in there, E.P. Carrillo, Herrera Esteli, M. Bombay. But I just don't recall, like, they were good or they were not good. They just don't have that lingering in the mind thing. Like, I can't, when I look at some of these names, I'm not seeing them, I think I need to go get more, you know. And so, yeah, that's it. That's my list of cigars of the year. And so that's my recommendation. If you have the chance to get the Stolen Throne Crook of the Crown Robusto, that's a really interesting one to try. Yeah. All right. Ooh, still, actually, right now we're in the second third. The spice and the mocha-ness has kind of diminished. Maybe there's a little bit of that graham crackerness, right? I don't know if I would say that it's readily identifiable as graham cracker, but what I'm really getting is more creaminess on the palate. Like, it's become a mellower cigar. It's become a milder cigar. Still very well balanced, more creamy, maybe not as dynamic in the flavor right now. Maybe this is the kind of cigar that goes into a little bit of a lull before it opens up and gets exciting again. It's not, for lack of a better term, it's a little bit on the boring side, you know. It's creamy, it's smooth, it's balanced, it's very pleasant. The dynamism that we've experienced in the first third has mellowed out and kind of almost disappeared. So we'll continue. So let's move on. We're going to do the mail call. So I got some stuff in the mail this week. Thought I'd wait to open it up here for you guys, just to share with you guys. So as you can see with a smiley face, it's from Amazon. You know, I don't really order a lot from Amazon. I'm not like everybody else, and I'm kind of cheap. Like, I don't want to pay for Prime. Like, what would I do with Prime? I don't watch TV like everyone does, so that doesn't do me any good. And I don't order all the time because I'm trying not to order all the time. And also, I like to support local businesses, so I like to have relationships with local shops. So I don't do, I buy stuff that I really can't buy locally or have a hard time buying locally. So for me, in Amazon, when I order Amazon, I just go with the free shipping that takes like, I don't know, sometimes 2 weeks. But since I'm not in a rush typically for the items, it's all right. All right, so what do we got in here? We got 3 items. Excellent. Ah, look at this. So we got a Teco HDMI splitter. This is something that I'm getting for my setup here. This is like $10. It's pretty cheap, but basically it's a HDMI splitter. I've got some ideas for the setup here for the live stream that I'm working on figuring out, and this allows you to take one input you could use this plug-in HDMI USB power, and you take one HDMI in and it gives you 2 HDMI out, identical HDMI outs. So that's like $10. Cool. We'll put that to use in the future. And then I've got my audio cable. It's a balanced 1/4 inch. You can kind of see the 1/4 inch here. Balanced 1/4 inch to XLR. I need this for, this might be too short for my needs. Darn it. What is this, a meter? Oh, man. We'll find out. We'll find out. Oh, and then finally, I saw this and I was like, oh, I gotta have this. This is the Rocinante from The Expanse. Look at that. Look at that. The Rocinante ship. And I don't know if you guys are following The Expanse, but I've been enjoying it. The fifth season just finished a couple weeks ago. I like to collect, not too much, but every once in a while I like to get like some of my favorite ships. And the Rocinante is definitely one of them. Next I want to get the Star Trek Discovery. All right, let's see, Rocinante. Ooh, it's got a little base for it. Oh, it's actually pretty cool. It's actually die-cast metal. Look at that. Oh, no, it's not metal. Maybe it's plastic. It's pretty weighty. It's pretty weighty, see? Rocinante. Alex is flying it. Well, Alex will not be flying it anymore. This is an MCRN, the Mars Congressional Republic Navy. This was a frigate gunship, or no, I don't remember what kind of ship it was, but it was called the Tycho, not Tycho. It was called the whatever it was called. They salvaged it and were able to keep it. And it's a gunship. I mean, it's a pretty heavily armed Mars gunship. All right, we'll put that back in the packaging. All right, that's pretty cool. That's exciting. All right, I'll put that away. Take this home. All right, so that's the Amazon packages. And then I was going to open this one last week, but I forgot to bring it with me. So Sean Vader, if you're watching, finally, I'm going to get around to opening this. So, package from Roma. Let's see what they sent. Oh, mamma mia. Here's a little 5-pack of cigars. Oops. Ooh, the Boveda still feels good, so they should still be nicely. So we've got the 2 lines of intemperance, the EC and the BA. Looks like there's a little chrome bagged in here, and some aquitanes. Excellent, excellent. It's very exciting. I'm glad I just smoked my last Revenge last night. So I'm in desperate need. Desperate need. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Sean. So, like I said, this, goodness, what's going on here? The Charter Oak, this second third has gotten a lot more creamy, more mellow, more, still the same balance, but just creamy and mellow. All this cold weather, I'm getting snifflies. Like today, I'm at work, serving customers, wearing masks, and it's like one of those things and it's not all the time. It's only like when I have these snifflies, like the mask just causes not the mucus, but just causes runny nose. Like it's just maddening. Like I'm trying to take care of guests, and underneath the mask, it's all like droopy, like, oh God. Terribly embarrassing. But luckily no one can see you. And that's the nice thing, and I can make faces, so I can be like, like this or like this. You can't really tell. I can smile or grimace. I don't think people can see too much. I think that the eyes are relatively stable, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. You put in the comments, let me know. Let's do a little bit of drinking here. Let's do a little drinking. Like I said, tonight I'll be at my old friend's wake. His name was Victor Doda, Victor P. Doda Jr. And he passed away on Saturday. He's 52 years old. He was about a year older than me, but he was born in July 1968. I was born in April 69. And I guess because he was later in the year, or maybe he was held back a year. I don't recall anymore, but he was we were in all the same class, and he had a heart attack from my understanding. And man, really sad. His father, he passed away when we were in 7th grade, and I knew his father and his mother really, really pretty well. And so, he lived to be the same age as his father, so it kind of, made me kind of think, gosh, man, we're all the same age. Like, we've had some other friends that have passed away from our elementary school class. We all went to a military school here in Baltimore called Mount Washington Country School that we graduated from there in 83, and it closed, I think by 86 it had closed, kind of like TAPS, except without the guns, or without the live fire guns. And we've had some of our friends who have passed away for various reasons. Like one of my other friends, and his name is Nick Grabnar. He went to Calvert Hall I went to Loyola. He went to Calvert Hall, and he was in a car crash in 87, right after we graduated, that fall of 87, September of 87. And actually, that was the last time I saw Victor. Victor, his father and his family was a mortician family, so they had their own funeral homes, and we were at Nick's funeral, and I was with Vic, and we were in the back with the mortician of that was doing Nick's funeral, talking about having them, for me at the time especially, the most bizarre conversation. Like Victor and this guy, of course they know each other because I guess everybody in that business knows each other. And they were talking about the condition as, oh yeah, how was he when he came in? And hey, you did a really good job. He looks really good. So that was actually, gosh, the other thing about that was really kind of the last time I saw him. And it was one of those things where like you just kind of get separated over the years, and you still feel I always still feel a very close connection to him, even though I haven't seen him in so long. And like I always thought like we would have the time to go to his places down in Locust Point. So I always thought we'd get some friends and go down and drop in on him and be like, hey man, what's going on? And it would just be like old times, that's the kind of like connection we had. And now of course there's a lot of regret because that opportunity is gone now. So Crook and Sweeney, 23 years. Here's to you, Vic. Yep. All right. Yeah, the internment will be tomorrow, on Friday. They've already scheduled it to be live streamed on Facebook, so that's good. They're holding tonight's wake at the church there. Like his family, his parents were. It's really interesting. Like his parents, his father and his mother were very involved in the community. Really big pillars in the Locust Point community. Actually, Shirley Doda, his mom, was the one. She was one of the people that directly. She's really one of the big reasons why the Fort McHenry Tunnel exists today. So back in the 70s, they were going to build 95, and they were going to fly it as a bridge, kind of like the Key Bridge, and they were going to fly it essentially over Fort McHenry, and she was totally against that. So she battled the city, she battled the state, she was against Schaefer, and then Schaefer finally realized, and then they partnered up. So when we were young, like in the 70s, like I got to meet Mayor Schaefer quite a lot because Mrs. Doda became really an ally of his. So they were really close. They worked together. We did events with the mayor. So it was really kind of, at the time that we did it, we're only in first, second, third, fourth grade, and so you don't really think about those things. But like as I got older, you realize, wow, we were really kind of, we were children, but we were kind of in the mix of that kind of stuff, and so kind of saw some of it from, very up close and personal. So a real strong connection to Baltimore. About 6 years ago, there's a place called Latrobe Park right in Locust Point, and because Mr. and Mrs. Doda were very involved in the community, the community, now Mrs. Doda passed away in 2007. Of course, Mr. Doda had passed away in like 1982 when we were in seventh grade, and but they erected a plaque in Latrobe Park honoring them because of their commitment and contributions to the community. So that was really nice. Oh, it's burning a little bit unevenly. I don't know what's going on there. I might have to touch it up. Now, you guys may not know this, but like Locust Point is in the city, right? It's I guess the inner city of Baltimore. It's South Baltimore. It's where the Fort McHenry is from the War of 1812. It's also a lot of docking, a lot of shipyards. really kind of a blue-collar, working-class neighborhood. Gangs, things like that. And I remember, one of our friends, Ashley Adams, who we all went to school with as well. We were all in a group of friends, and we would. Victor would invite us to spend the night there and hang out, and we would go down there and hang out for like a night or two, or over the weekend. And like, I remember Ashley several years ago, we were a group of us were together, and he was saying, he said this, and I was laughing because it really was, we were all kids from like the county, like kids from the county, Baltimore County. I lived in Pikesville. Ashley lived in Mount Washington. Patrick lived in Mount Washington. We're all from this area, and but not the city. Like we didn't run the streets. We weren't really involved with girls very much. We didn't have like really tough, hardcore friends. Where Victor had all of this, right? Like the whole thing of like talking to girls and like meeting girls and making out with girls and all that, and hanging out with these guys that are like bigger kids that are beating up on people and getting into fights. That really wasn't part of our world. Like that was Victor's world, and like Victor was always really. He could easily float between all the different worlds and different people, and even when he was a child, even when we were young, he was like that. And so I actually made a comment. We were all hanging out. He's like, I don't know about you guys, but I was scared shitless the entire time we were down there. And we were laughing because I shared the same thought, because as we would go around the neighborhood with Victor, hanging out in the neighborhood and walking around, and we meet these bigger kids, and maybe they're only a year or two old, but to us they were like big kids, and maybe some of them were teenagers. I mean, I was scared too. I was like this small Asian kid. I'm like, oh, I hope I don't get beat up. I don't want to get to fight with anyone. And that girl with the tight sweater and the tight jeans and the feather back hair, I really think she's pretty cute, but I don't know how to talk to her. Wearing the Ozzy Osbourne t-shirt. Oh, good times. Yeah, but that was that time. And actually, there across the street, he lives on East Fort Avenue, right? And so next to Latrobe Park, he lives across from Latrobe Park, and the church that the wake is being held in was actually next door. So I mean, they're really small, tight-knit community. But across the street from his house, and next to Latrobe Park, was this little diner. And I remember going into this diner one time. I think I was with them or with my mom or with somebody, and somebody ordered gravy fries. It was the very first time I tried gravy fries, and it was earth-shattering. I mean, it was like I always remember this little tiny joint, and it's gone. It's not been there for many years. But that was the place I first had gravy fries, and I always remember that. It's on this like oblong like plate, and so besides, like our friends Nick Grabner, who passed away after high school, one of our friends, Everett Adams, he came from the city. He was involved in a lot more heavy duty stuff. Like I remember the last time I saw him, was after high school, right after high school, and he was running with some pretty heavy guys. Like he had the lambskin jacket, and he was involved with some stuff, and I heard he was killed, quite a few years, not too long after that. And then another one of our classmates, David Whitley, he passed away from a heart attack in 2012. So that was really, God, that was really shocking. We're only like then, 2012 is less than, 42 maybe? 41, 42? But, these are the kind of people that you have a strong connection to because of your childhood. And, our school was pretty small. The military school I went to was pretty small. We had 28 people in our class, so it was really small and tight, and you really got to know everyone. So I think a lot of the guys are going to be coming out to the wake on tonight. So it'll be nice to see them all. We've had this chat on Facebook, trying to put that together and make sure that we're all going to be there at the same time. So that'll be interesting, or at least be really nice to see everyone, because I see some of the guys from time to time, but life, how it is, life gets in the way. Life just takes you on a path, and not all your paths don't always cross. So yeah, that's it. So we're moving on, getting to the end of the middle third. Still well balanced, creamy, smooth. I'm digging it. I'm not terribly thrilled. Like it's smooth and creamy, but it's not like thrilling. Like I'll smoke these, and they're thrilling. They're always just enjoyable. Like I'll enjoy it all the way down. Like right now it's a little bit. Right now the Charter Oak's flat. It's balanced. It's nice. It's construction is beautiful. The resistance in the draw is spot on. Good amount of smoke. Flavors are balanced. There's really a lovely creaminess on the mouthfeel. But it's a little boring. It's a little bit boring in that respect. Like, if I compare it to this, it's a little bit boring. And honestly, it's always a comparison to this. Every cigar is a comparison to this, as far as holding my attention and generating excitement. Like, do I feel that level of excitement? And like I said in our review of the top 20, the top of 2020, things like the Crown Head Mil Diaz and the Stolen Chrome Crook of the Crown, those are like exciting. Those hold my attention. This one, my attention's kind of drifting. The first third, really exciting, dynamic, holding my attention. This one, not that it's a chore. Like some of the others were chores. This one is pleasant. Pleasant and satisfying. Pleasant and satisfying. That's probably the best way to put it. But do you really want to smoke something that's just satisfying? I think maybe that's the way to look at it. It's going well, though, with the coffee. So, yeah. So how was your Valentine's Day? It was this past week. What'd you guys do? Anything interesting? Me personally, I didn't do too much. I kind of hid out here. Mostly editing videos. I'm helping my niece. She wants to do her own YouTube channel, so we've been putting together this video for it, and where she's baking. It's really cute. I think it's turning out really cute, really nice. I think that it's interesting because you're making content with her too. That's children's content, so it's like a bit of a different approach. Like you're looking for a different feel, different types of music. You're trying to frame it in a way that's appealing to children. That's not and like if in the YouTube world, when you're making content, like there's actually a segment as you're doing all the back end work, meaning that you're filling out all the information and I guess quote unquote the paperwork for your videos, where they ask you, is this content created for kids? And there's quite a bit of stipulations for children's channels. Like you can't have certain imagery, you can't have certain language, you can't have certain things going on. And from my perspective, that's totally what you don't want. Any of that kind of stuff. You want it to be really wholesome. And if we're making content for kids, I do want it to be very wholesome, because I kind of I sense this responsibility that we have to make quality content that kids can enjoy without any kind of, fear of anything happening. Parents can feel like it's interesting. Like My other niece, she's much older. She's like 22 now, and she's an adult. She's her own woman now, and she's making content on TikTok. And so my younger niece, who is 11, half her age, is the other day was on my phone looking at her older cousin's TikTok. My niece, my older niece, she's doing like I don't know if you follow TikTok, but TikTok they'll do things where they kind of mouth the word or like mimic. They kind of voiceover. It's not voiceover, but the track plays and they mouth the words, right? And my little niece is watching, and her older cousin's like, "Oh yeah, well this is shit, and that, fuck that." And I was like, "Oh my god, man, what the hell?" It's like, good lord. So yeah. So especially like that's something like even with my own social media now that even with my niece who's 22, when she got to the age where she would start following me like on social media, up until that point I never really thought too much about. But once my nieces started following me, then I started thinking, oh man, I need to like be a little bit more aware. Like I don't want to be like F this and F that and this sucks and all this and be too vulgar, because I don't want to be that kind of influence. They're gonna see that in their world, and that's something that's unavoidable. The kids are gonna see that because, well, I saw it when we were growing up, but I don't want to be one of the people that makes it seem like it's okay. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Let me know. I'll be interested to know about that. So Valentine's Day was good. And then I don't know if you've heard, but the Flavor Town, Guy Fieri is bringing one of his Uber kitchens to DC. They're going to be down in DC some point, where you can go on Uber Eats and Grubhub and order his Flavor Town food. David Chang from Momofuku is bringing his fuku here to Baltimore. I don't know if that's happened or if it's supposed to be happening. I don't know when that's happening, but at some point they're going to do that. And then of course, how was the Super Bowl for you guys? It's been almost 2 weeks. This is something I was going to touch base with you guys on last week, but we never got around to that. Did you get who you wanted? Like, were you a big Brady guy? Were you a Buccaneers, or were you disappointed as a Chiefs fan? Me personally, I didn't really have thought either way. I mean, the idea that Tom Brady would go and take a team that we never really heard about, the Buccaneers, and bring them to the Super Bowl and win, you kind of wanted that to happen. I kind of wanted that to happen, even though I don't really like Brady because, well, Patriots. Yeah, so that was all right. I mean, for me, it was really neither here nor there. I really didn't watch the Super Bowl. I didn't, because I don't really have any stake in it, so it's not a big deal for me. I didn't really even see the commercials. Although I did see that guy, or at least some news on it. There was that guy that was streaking or something. He jumped on the field, was running. And people were like, "Oh, the cop tackled him." I was watching that video. The cop didn't tackle him. The guy slid, and then the guy got on top of him. So that's nothing. That's like Lamar Jackson running and sliding, and then the guy jumped on top of him. That's roughing the passer. But evidently, he put a bet in Vegas for some kind of guy to do that, and won $350,000. Evidently, not bad. And then evidently Tom Brady got so wasted during the victory parade that they had to carry him off. But I guess, if you're 42 and you've done 6 or 7 Super Bowls, and so your last one, you can get drunk. Why not? Then a lot of people were complaining about The Weeknd and how his Super Bowl show wasn't very dynamic. I didn't see it again, so I don't really know. A lot of people are also asking, like, who is this Weeknd? Who is this Weeknd? You know what? You're too damn old. That's why you don't know The Weeknd. The Weeknd is a singer. For God's sake, get with it. Get hip. Get older. Stop being so old. Of course, I'm just saying that because Actually, I didn't know who The Weeknd was until Thursday, the Thursday before, when I was asking one of my staff. I said, "Hey, you know, we're going to make a TikTok for our social media. I need some music. What music do you recommend?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, let's use the track from The Weeknd." I was like, "Who's The Weeknd?" So if you go back into Spro Hamden's Instagram and you see the reel that has The Weeknd, that's how that came about. I had no idea who it was at that time until that point. And then other big news this week. So the Trump trial is over. Trump has been acquitted by the Senate. Senators didn't do anything. And the interesting thing is that what's his name, Mitch McConnell, said he's going to quit and then says that he should be charged. If he should be charged, why didn't you charge him? Huh? Who knows? Who understands these old guys? And because of that, conservatives say they might form a new conservative party, breaking away from Republicans. Don't know if that's going to happen. And then how about WandaVision? Have you guys been following WandaVision? WandaVision, interesting, strange, but not as strange as that movie Bliss. I don't know if you've seen that movie Bliss. That is some strange stuff. I don't really understand what's going on there. It's like the guy wants to be, what's his name? The guy wants to be like a Christopher Nolan. But it's just not quite as tightly done. So what are other movies? I saw this movie called Space Sweepers. Space Sweepers is a South Korean movie about these Korean space salvage guys that are somehow get wrapped up in this whole thing where they end up saving the world. Actually, it's quite good as a space opera. If you like space operas, pretty darn good. And then my friend, Buddy, turned me on to this whole thing, this new show called Resident Alien that's on Sci-Fi. It's got Alan Tudyk. So Alan Tudyk's that guy who played Wash in Firefly. I've been watching that this week. 3 episodes are out. The 4th episode came out yesterday on Wednesday, and yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's a little bit strange, a little bit awkward, kind of not hard to follow, but strange to follow. But it's interesting. I'm checking it out. Oh, and big news in food. After, 10 years away, High C orange drink is coming back to McDonald's. There was a time when I was much younger, probably the 90s, where I did really enjoy drinking that orange drink from McDonald's. Especially with breakfast. Like a Egg McMuffin or sausage Egg McMuffin. Oh, speaking of which, I went to McDonald's the other day and I was like, I ordered the number 2 for breakfast, which was the sausage egg McMuffin with cheese. And for some reason, they got it all kind of wonky. And they gave me the sausage and egg biscuit. No. Sausage egg biscuit. McDonald's biscuit is nowhere near the Chick-fil-A biscuit. It's not happening. And then I don't know if you saw this, but in France there was a 116-year-old nun, Catholic nun, that beat the COVID. She got ill, and then was miracle. Jesus came, saved her. This is the power of the church. And then this is all past now, but we were having a bit of a traffic jam up in Mars. We had America had the Perseverance lander. So the Perseverance from America, the Hope probe from the United Arab Emirates, and then the Chanwen-1 probe were all arriving in Mars this past week, jockeying for position. So China and the UAE, along with the European Space Agency. The UAE. It was just the UAE. It's also the European Space Agency, Russia, and India are the other 3 countries that have sent probes to Mars. So there are 6 countries that have gone to Mars, but only Russia and the United States have actually landed on Mars. But Tianwen-1 from China is actually, their goal is to land on Mars as well. But I'm always, when it comes to China's space program, I'm always kind of confused. Like, in the Sandra Bullock movie Gravity, there's a Chinese space station. I don't recall if there really is a Chinese space station or if that's just fiction. Also, Aunt Jemima's finally gone. There's a whole other name. It's something like Jasper Hills. I don't know what it is. I can't remember. But same bottle, same kind of colors. Just no more Aunt Jemima. Probably still not a very good syrup to use. And then other news in this past week is Uber reported $6.8 billion in losses in 2020. They lost $6.8 billion. Not million, billions. And here's the catch. When Uber reported $6.8 billion in losses, that was good news. Good news because in 2019, Uber lost $8.5 billion. So in the last 2 years, they have lost $16 billion. Just gone. I can't lose $600 without being wiped out. These guys are losing, $16 billion. I don't understand how that kind of insanity happens in business. It's probably why I'm making a podcast rather than living the life that those guys live. Also, big news, Taylor Swift is re-recording her first album, the first album called Fearless, with all of her early successes. She's re-recording the entire album and going to re-release it. Evidently, why she's doing this is because whoever owns the copyright of that original recording, she has no control over. So she wants to take control back of her music, so she's re-recording and re-releasing the album to bring that back to her. And I think that means that she'll have control and royalties from the new version of the album, but not the old. So here we are. We're really into the final third. Still very creamy. Construction is holding well. Remember that crack we had early on? It's just starting to separate a little bit right now. But this whole time it's held together. So construction is really great. The draw is really good. But that dynamism that mellowed out in the second third has not revived. That really exciting dynamism from the first third, it's not coming back. You kind of want it. I want it to. I want it to be lively and alive, and I'm sure this is really, and a lot of people like it. Like, for example, let's have a look at some of the reviews. I'll show you some of the reviews so that at least we can go through this a little bit. Here we are. So here we are. This is from Half Wheel. They gave it a 93, which I think is interesting to give a 93. I mean, what are they saying? Some of the highlights of what they're saying about the 93 is a flaw-free construction, which I'm definitely seeing that here. The construction is really good. The flavor is incredibly well balanced. That's totally true. I mean, this is very well balanced. It's been well balanced the entire time. The cracking is happening a little bit heavier right now. And for the majority of people, it's going to be it's going to be complex. Quite a complex cigar. And it is the balance. It's a well balanced flavor. The flavors are relatively complex, I think, but it's just mellow. It doesn't have the oomph that I would like to have. And then we have, let's see here. Here's Cigar Advisor. This is Gary Corb's. Actually, Cigar Advisor doesn't give a score, so we'll skip that. Cigar Authority does give a score. They also give a 93. So here we are. Here we finally reach a cigar that different sources have given the same score. So I think there's something to be said for that. As far as like legitimacy of the score. Like some of the highlights from here at Cigar Authority, 100% box worthy. And it's a $7 cigar, but it smokes like a more expensive. And yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that it smokes like a more expensive cigar. I mean, it's definitely a nicely done cigar. And then the other thing they say, it's best of the bunch. So of all of the different Charter Oaks, the Connecticut Shade and the Connecticut Broadleaf, they Cigar Authority says that this is the best of the three. I haven't really done a lot of the Charter Oaks, at least I don't recall. So I can't really agree or disagree with that. I think that I'm guessing that that I have had Charter Oak before, but I don't think they were really like they don't really stand out in my mind. Like I don't. When I think of the word Charter Oak, I don't think about it being like, oh my God, I gotta have them. I think in my mindset they would be, if they're at the right price point, which is if they're at $7, it's worth smoking for an enjoyable smoke. I think I got a Charter Oak from Tony at my Washington Cigar when I was on the way to Western Maryland. I think I got one of those from him. So for a road cigar, to help pass the time, a good choice. So if you tried this cigar yourself, let me know what you think. I'd like to know what you guys think about that. I also just noticed that, I'm not here, the half wheel, I didn't notice this earlier, I just noticed that they actually have their comments open. A lot of places don't have their comments open because I don't know if I think a lot of bloggers don't like it when people contradict them or disagree. So as you can see here, if you see a lot of people agreeing with it, Bond share number one, everyone I smoked have been the money. 50 count box cruiser, more than worth the price. Here, this guy Joseph, as you can see, you must be smoking a custom-made cigar. Every one of the cigars I smoked, which were 5 in total, had no hint of peanut butter creaminess. In fact, all were just the opposite, with majority of cigars' profile being thin and sharp across the board, more like an 85. I mean, everyone's palate's going to be different. Everyone's going to react a different way. But I would agree with it, at least with my example. The construction has been nice, really well done. I mean, it is cracking and coming apart now, but we're at the end, so there's nothing to complain about there. I mean, solid smoke, and to go back to our weekly question that Rusty wants to know, would I buy it again? Yeah, I think I would buy it again. I mean, it's a great smoke. But because of the dynamism at the very onset, the first third, really worth the experience. The rest of it, though, because it does get more mellow for me and is a little bit more, benign, but very well balanced. This is a cigar that, like, maybe I would consider more for place holding, meaning that, like, if I'm on a long drive and I'm looking for something to pass the time. Like when I'm driving somewhere, like on a road trip, I smoke, I think I smoke more just to pass the time, just to give me something to do instead of sitting there droning on at highway speeds for like hundreds of miles. I like to have a cigar, especially on road trips of 3 hours or more. Like if I'm driving to New York or Ocean City, maybe not so much Ocean City, going out to Western Maryland, or when I drove up to Boston or down to South Carolina or North Carolina, I like to bring cigars to just kind of pass the time, like you can kind of gauge, like every hour and a half is a cigar, maybe every two, and then start one. So take an hour and a half to smoke, drive for like maybe half an hour, then light up again. So, a two cigar would be like a 3 hour trip or right around there, 4 hour trip. 8 hour trip to Boston would be, maybe 4 cigars. So earlier on, we talked about the wrapper. This is the Ecuadorian Habano, which ostensibly is similar to the Ecuadorian Habano that's on the Whiskey Rebellion. Completely different. There's really nothing unifying between the two. So again, it just goes back to Ecuadorian Habano, which means, really, it kind of means almost nothing. Because again, if we look at the ag side of things, you have Ecuadorian Habano from one farm, one producer, and one way of processing will be very different than another Ecuadorian Habano from a different producer, different level of processing. And then like in the coffee world, like I can go to one farm and take one variety of coffee. So let's say like I take a Red Bourbon, and I go and let's say this is a big farm that has multiple hectares of land, and they have different plots, different lots on different parts of the property, which could be on different parts of a mountain, with different soil content, different microclimates, so the relative temperature in that little part of that farm versus the way the sun hits it, the way the wind hits it, all of that impacts the coffee. So I imagine that in the tobacco fields in the valleys of like Esteli or Jalapa or wherever they're growing it, the location of that tobacco plant will have a tremendous impact on the way the actual leaves turn out. So, Ecuadorian Habano, I think a lot of the way they talk about it, with the descriptions, which is why I say that, like in this one, Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, Nicaraguan filler, and binder, you could tell a lot more. As a manufacturer, you could tell us a lot more about it without giving away your secrets, because even as Mike Rosales admitted last week, the processing of the tobacco is so varied and so distinct and unique to each one that even if you had the same seed, you couldn't get the same result. It'd be very, very difficult. So beyond all the growing and the pre-industry of curing in the barns and then fermenting in the pilons, to the way the blender puts it all together, like it's just very difficult to recreate. Which is why when you go to like JR Cigars, for example, and JR makes that line of cigars that are supposed to be knockoffs of other cigars. So like you can go to JR and buy a bundle for like $30. This cigar that's supposed to be like a Monte Cristo No. 2 Habano, but it tastes nothing like it because you're not using the same tobacco, you're not using the same methodologies, you can't really recreate it. You can get maybe similarities, like let's say with Pete with his brown label, original label Tatuaje, my understanding of his idea was to recreate the great Habanas, like the Monte Cristo No. 2. He gets, if you get a really nice Cuban Monte No. 2 and you put it up, let's say, against his brown label Torpedo, does he have one? You don't get the same flavor. You get Cuban-esque character from that Tatuaje. It's a Cuban-esque kind of character, but it's not the same. So that's good. So we're really kind of at the very end. It's really loose now, right? You know, because, well, I mean, it's to be expected. It's going to come apart. It's coming apart now. The wrapper's about to fall off. It's been a very enjoyable cigar. If I was smoking this in the car, I would have had to have dropped it already because everything would be flying everywhere. Now the wrapper's gone, it's just the binder. So, Charter Oak, Habano Torpedo, really good cigar, really good. Great, even. Really enjoyable. It's been a good time. I guess I'll put it down now. Actually, I kind of don't want to put it down, but it's still pleasant, still enjoyable to smoke. Kind of want to drag it as much as you can. But, you know, so that's pretty much it for this cigar. I mean, we're almost at the very end. So thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate you spending the time with me again here on a Thursday night. My apologies that it's not truly a live, even though we are streaming this episode. It is a pre-recorded one. Thanks for taking the time with me again. I hope you enjoyed it. We will be back next week, Thursday night, on the 25th. And we're going to be smoking the Plasencia Alma Fuerte 601. I know I said I was going to do that last week for today, but I decided because of the recording we're going to switch it around, and I really want to do the Plasencia with you guys live. It's a really thick cigar. It's got this kind of a hexagonal shape to it, hexagonal box press. I think it's really visually unique. It feels really unique. I think it'll be a really interesting cigar to smoke. So if you can get one before the show, Raul had some when I was there a couple weeks ago. Do try to grab one. I'd love to smoke with you guys and do it live so we can compare notes as we're going through it. And don't forget to prepare yourself. We're going to be having Michael King on in a couple weeks from Aganorsa Cigars, who's going to put together a package with Raul for one of the Aganorsa cigars. He's told me he's going to send Raul a special box just for us to smoke. So there'll be 20 packages of this cigar. It'll be the cigar plus 2 separate leaves. Actually, I can show you the leaf. I do have some that he gave me when I ran into him that I haven't smoked myself, but I figured that I would just kind of do it. He gives in this pack what he does. He has these two. I forgot exactly what they call it, but these are the two. Well, let me get out of that screen. He's got these two, and they are the C99 and C38. They're Viso tobacco from both Jalapa and Esteli. And the idea is that these are the two major leaves that Aganorsa built their whole kingdom on, and evidently these are in every cigar they make in some form or another. And the idea is for you to smoke these just to get the flavor and get the idea of how they craft it. And so I was first introduced to these by Paul Palmer, who runs our operations for Aganorsa. We were down in Esteli in 2014, and Paul had us over to the Aganorsa factory where we were, smoking in their tasting room, and he gave us these two plus a whole bunch of the other ones, and we're just kind of smoking and tasting the different tobaccos. Really fascinating way to learn about cigars and construction. So be sure to get in on with that, and I'd love to have you guys again with we're going to have a cigar and then these two, and we're going to smoke them all, discuss, and really have hopefully a fun and educational time with it. So that's coming up. Be prepared. Love to have your support in that. So that's pretty much it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again next week on the 25th. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks for tuning in. See you guys.